Hey y'all, tease your hair and bust out the shoulder pads because we are taking another trip down vintage memory lane. This time though, we are taking a fan favorite from the Southern Living annual recipe book from 1985, the cinnamon upside down coffee cake. And y'all, while I am so glad this hairstyle has gone out of fashion, one thing that I am thankful for is that this recipe has stood the test of time. One of the classics, 1985 cinnamon upside down coffee cake. It is on page 256. I'm sure a lot of y'all know it by heart. I've never made it before and I'm so excited to take a deep dive to 1985 today and to make this recipe. Okay, so the first step to get started with this cinnamon upside down coffee cake is to combine 2 cups of flour, yeast, a half a cup of sugar, and salt in a large mixing bowl and stir well. So I've already measured out my 6 cups of flour in a large bowl, and I'm just going to spoon the 2 cups, measure it into my mixing bowl, half a cup of granulated sugar, and then it says 2 packages of dry yeast. If you can't find the packages, the jar has instructions on the side that says approximately 2 1/4 teaspoons equals 1/4 ounce pack of yeast. So 4 1/2 teaspoons, then 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt. Give this a good whisk in my mixer. Half a cup is 1 stick of butter. It is room temperature. So I'm gonna add that to my mixer. And 1 1/2 cups of warm water. Warm water activates yeast, so you don't want it to be too hot so it kills it, but you want it to be hot enough so it gets things moving in there. So 1 1/2 cups of warm water. There we have it. It's about 106 degrees, which is good enough. So into the mixer we go. Fit it with my paddle attachment and get to going. And now I'm going to add in 2 large eggs and some more flour. So I have my bowl of pre-measured flour in here, and I'm gonna keep the mixer running and gradually, slowly add in my flour. Beat it until a dough forms. See how the dough like kind of really holds on to the paddle? I have this soft, slightly sticky dough, and I'm going to now turn it onto a floured surface and knead it for about 5 minutes. My dough is smooth and elastic. It is a little bit sticky, so you can see this, it's a little sticky, but it is not overly sticky. It's not sticking to the counter whenever I pick it up. I'm going to form my ball of dough into an actual ball shape. So what I do is I just kind of twist it on the counter, and it kind of like grips to the bottom of the counter, and form it into a pretty good ball. Once it is like that, I'm going to put it into a well-greased bowl, cover it, let it chill out in a slightly warm spot, which for me is like on my stove, for about an hour until it is doubled in size. So it's been about an hour and 15 minutes. Look at this, it's about doubled in size. So this is where I placed it. And now it's time to punch the dough down, which is my favorite part of any kind of yeasted dough recipe. And then separate it into 2 halves. This is about half of the dough. Set this over to the side. Going to cover that while I'm working with this piece. Now we're gonna roll it into a 15 by 9 inch rectangle. I'm slightly worried it might stick, but we're gonna give it a go and see how it fares. Okay, once you've gotten it into about a 15 by 9 inch rectangle, it doesn't have to be perfect. We are going to spread about 2 tablespoons of softened butter onto the surface of the dough. So I have a 1/4 cup right here because I'm gonna cut it in half because I have another half of dough. So I'm going to spread this onto my dough. It could technically be a little bit softer. Okay, popped it in the microwave. It was not quite ready to spread, but here we are, 2 tablespoons of butter. Look at that, oh my goodness. This is very reminiscent of a cinnamon roll to me. Once your butter is spread onto your dough, take a half a cup of sugar and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and we're gonna mix them together. So that's 1 and 2. The recipe does not call to mix the sugar and cinnamon together before you spread it onto the buttered dough, but I find it's a little bit easier to incorporate cinnamon when it is mixed with sugar. So, and now onto the surface, I'm spreading this whole half cup of sugar plus 2 teaspoons of cinnamon onto this buttered dough. So basically, here's my body. This is the long end of the dough. And what you're gonna do is just kind of roll it up. I like to use like the back side of my hand, like this side, to kind of help lift it up off the counter if you need to. You can also use a spatula or a bench scraper if it has stuck to the counter to lift it up. And we're just going to, as tightly as we can, roll the dough up with the cinnamon sugar, like so. And now we're gonna cut this into 15 pieces. Now that I have my first one done, I'm gonna do the exact same thing with my second one. In the meantime, I need to create my nutty topping. What I'm gonna do is quickly make the nutty topping before I roll out the second half of my dough, because we have to put the nutty topping in the bottom of our pans before we put these cut dough pieces in there. Okay, into this bowl, I have 2/3 cup of melted butter and 1 cup of firmly packed light brown sugar, 1 cup of pecan halves in that bowl, 2 tablespoons of light corn syrup. Y'all know my trick. Take my best friend Pamela, spray my measuring spoon with that so that the sticky ingredient like honey or corn syrup, whatever, comes out. Pour it into the bowl. Now just give this kind of a good toss, make sure everything is incorporated, and then we can pour it into the bottom of our prepared pans. Okay, so my 2 prepared pans, we are going to put half of this nutty topping in the bottom of each pan. Then I can layer my cut cinnamon roll-esque coffee cake spirals, cut side up, so spiral side up, into my pans. There we have it. Now, see all this leftover cinnamon sugar that is left on my counter from what was supposed to go into the rolls? I like to gather it all up and kind of sprinkle it over this. I think it makes for a really cool topping for this upside down cinnamon coffee cake. All right, y'all, upside down cinnamon coffee cake. Both pans are ready to go in the oven. Just look at these. Into the oven at 350 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes until they're golden brown and just gooey and amazingly crunchy on the top with the cinnamon sugar. And I cannot wait to eat these. They're gonna be so good. Look at these! They look so good. Woo! Bubbly coming out of the oven. Golly. So, since this is upside down cinnamon coffee cake, you have to flip it upside down. All the sticky gooey morning bun type pecan butter brown sugar concoction is on the bottom. Okay, I'm loosening the edges, but they don't really need that to be done. Like, these things are gonna come out real easy. And then I'm going to stick this on top, and then with confidence, kind of invert it. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, look. Oh my word. Oh ho 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 ho. All of that gooiness from the bottom just kind of poured out over the top, and it is like syrupy and sugary and just woo! This is gonna be good. Okay, we have kneaded, we have mixed, we have baked, we have inverted into a serving platter. It is time to taste it. Look at this. It looks so yummy. I was a little bit concerned that it didn't bake all the way through, but once cutting into it, I can just tell it's just a really gooey recipe on the top and kind of crispy, crunchy on the bottom. So I was slightly concerned, but it looks fully baked in the middle. So, oh my word, let's taste it. Now I can see what the hype for this recipe is all about. No wonder it has stood the test of time since 1985. This one is gonna be a new recipe in my rotation. If it is already a recipe in your rotation, good for you, you found a gem. If it is not a current recipe in your rotation, don't worry, we're gonna share this recipe on southernliving.com. If you don't have a copy of the 1985 annual recipe, y'all, make this recipe, the end, period, end of story. If you like this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, click the bell, all the social media things, y'all know what to do. As you can see, y'all requested a vintage recipe for me to do it again. We read the comments, so be sure to put in the comments what you want me to do next. If you make this upside down coffee cake, I would love to know about it. Tag me at Ivy Odom on Instagram or Facebook, and I will repost it to my story. I love seeing what y'all are up to in the kitchen. I will see y'all next week on Hey Y'all. Bye y'all.